Hey guys, thanks for stopping by. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. If you feel like going the extra mile and supporting the channel, I have a Patreon set up just for that. Thanks again, and enjoy the video. Hey guys, Joe here, and welcome back to another great video. Now, I know I'm a little bit late to this, but this video is going to be about the cold foil reprint policy. Sorry if you've heard enough about it, but I really wanted to touch on it with you guys and talk about what it has to do with the future of Flesh and Blood in terms of a market, these rarities of cold foils, and how much we're going to see of it in the future. Throughout the video, you're going to notice I'm going to be switching between browsers in terms of like when I read over the policy, maybe some other market price and stuff like that. So it'll be a mixture of browser, else some other like some roll footage is just going to be some sealed product I've actually opened up throughout the week. So if the sealed product may or may not be your thing, this will moreover just kind of like be a podcast-ish kind of thing. Kind of like how a few of my other videos have been, just talking about things that are news for Flesh and Blood or card games in general. So if that is what it is, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. So for starters, if you were unaware, like I said, LSS did release an updated policy on their cold foil reprint policy, as you can see right here. So let's just go through it real quick. Cold foil cards are a special part of Flesh and Blood that we created to showcase collectability. This policy sets out our promise to the community towards how we can reprint cold foil cards. So just for starters, Flesh and Blood, when it first came out, when they first conceived it, they did want to have that collector market in mind. They haven't really had an official statement, from my understanding, of having a reserve list, which Magic does have, or having anything, or moreover like a touch up on how cold foils are going to continue on as more sets come out, because we've only really had Welcome to Wraith, Arcane Rising, and Crucible of War. So with those, yes, they all have cold foils. But if as you like bounce between the sets, you see that those cold foils do drastically change in terms of price. They hit the thousands easily, depending on what it is. But for future sets, if they do continue to include cold foils, which from here it looks like that's what they're going to be doing, it's moreover for first edition print runs. It's going to be first edition print runs are only going to be targeted towards the collectors, which sucks because then when the product first comes out, it's going to be harder for players to get holds of it because collectors are just going to want to get as much as they can, just so that it's more more for them. But there's also people who see this as more of like a stock, just because it's something that's only going to go up as time goes on because the printings are going to be stopped. But LSS did touch on that whole idea, in which first edition runs are meant for that, but unlimited runs are going to be meant for the players. So unlimited runs are going to be printed into oblivion, which I'm hoping it's not too bad, because you still kind of want that market for the players, just for like, let's say they want to trade a deck, you still want your cards to be worth something. You don't want, like, let's look at Lightning Strike. Lightning Strike I think is sitting between 60-70. I don't want Welcome to Wraith to be reprinted to the ground. I do want it to be printed. I want it to be printed so players can play it, but I don't want it to be reprinted to the point where the Lightning Strike is going to be like $5, because then everyone's going to have it in Lightning Strike, and it's no longer going to be that competitive level that people are trying to play at. But anyway, getting back to it. So first thing is right here. We have first edition cold foils. A card printed using the cold foil printing technique included in a product marked first edition cold foil will never be printed as a cold foil again, with the exception of cold foil price card clause of this policy. For avoidance of doubt, a card printed as a first edition cold foil can be reprinted using non-cold foil printing techniques such as rainbow foil, non-foil. So what that's basically saying is, let's say you have a cold foil Mask of Momentum. That version of Mask of Momentum, since it's the cold foil from Welcome to Wraith, first edition, alpha, is never going to be printed in that cold foil style again. Now, that doesn't mean they can't reprint Mask of Momentum as a card. So Mask of Momentum can be reprinted as, like, let's say a prize card, like a non-foil prize card. They can do that if they choose. Or they can reprint it as another rainbow foil, which would be kind of odd because it's already a rainbow foil. But I could see it doing a non-foil, because they did the same thing with Findel's Tunic. But that's for that. Going on for foil prize cards right here. We reserve the right to reprint any card using the cold foil printing techniques for the purpose of supporting official Flesh and Blood organized play. Cold foil prize card, blah. A card printed as a cold foil prize card will be visually differentiated from its original printing if that card was previously printed as a first edition cold foil. This Predescent has existed since the release of Flesh and Blood in 2019. See, touching on the whole thing with their idea of doing collectability, with examples including the gold cold foil prize cards awarded at the Calling National Championships and to the first player in each country to reach 1,000 lifetime XP. So what that necessarily means, and it's technically good that they touched on that, because so for a lot of I think it's only the Arcane Rising and the Welcome to Wraith cold foils. For prizing, they have gold cold foils, which are only given out at these higher level tournaments, and they go for quite a lot. Obscure price. I actually looked into getting one, but then I saw the pricing on it, and I love Flesh and Blood, but I do not have the bank for anything like that. But from my understanding is from how this is being said, they're basically saying, hey, cold foil Mask of Momentum, yeah, we can't reprint that cold foil, the silver boarding and stuff, but we're gonna reprint a cold foil version, but it can be a different color, different texture, stuff like that. So it still holds the collectability of those first edition cold foils, but it also gives the person another idea to add to either their collection or if they just want this version. Now, personally, and everyone knows this, those cards are going to be just as expensive as the first edition ones because they're going to be tournament pricing. Now, if it's like local tournament pricing, different story. But they mentioned the national tournaments and stuff like that. It's most likely going to be national tournaments that you're only going to see these cold foils at, the gold cold foils at, and like the first person to reach 1,000 lifetime XP. That lifetime XP, by the way, they state in each country, so it's not just for the first person, it's for each country, which is pretty cool. Let me touch on cold foil promo cards right here. Promo card print using the cold foil printing technique can be reprinted, including as a cold foil in retail product. This clause is only applicable to cold foil cards that have not been printed as a first edition cold foil. For avoidance of doubt, once a card has been printed as a first edition cold foil, it will never be printed as a cold foil again, with the exception of cold foil prize cards clause of this policy. So just like how we talked about, is the cold foil prize card clause basically allows them to reprint certain cold foils, but they have to be a little bit different. So it could be gold, it could be blue, it could be red. It just has to be a little different for the cold foil prize cards. But with this one, for the cold foil promo cards, it has to be a card that has not had a cold foiling. So for locals, for a promo card, or even like the armory kits, like how you see the equipment weapons have cold foiling for the older ones that didn't originally. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure a lot of the original weapons didn't. Because I think it was just the equipments, from my understanding. I could be wrong. But going on, let's say they like new weapons come out and they don't initially get cold foiling, which I think they all are, because starting at crew, I know most of them did. Just going back, let's just say one of the weapons from Welcome to Wraith, Arcane Rising, or some sort of card, Lightning Strike. Let's go with the Lightning Strike. Let's say a Lightning Strike gets a cold foiling done to it. It's just a promo card. It's only going to be, that promo card, just because it's never had a cold foiling, technically. It's only the rainbow foil. So they're just going to, for better terms, for promo cards, they're only going to touch on cards that haven't been cold foils, if that makes sense to y'all. Which is good, because then you're protecting the ones that are from first editions in prize cardings. Now, going on from this, as you see in the tabs I have up here, the good thing that this confirms is this is Flesh and Blood's reserve list, basically. This is their policy that's kind of reflective of what Wizards of the Coast does. Now, Wizards of the Coast is a little different, because Wizards of the Coast... Whoops, I knocked the mic. Wizards of the Coast is more geared towards the product that was released. Now, those products that are released there's no clauses in which you can reprint them, like as a cold foil, like prize card or anything like that. Not yet, at least, because it's a little botchy of how they did that, because it's more of a promise. There's a whole video that people have made whole videos on this, in which it's more over a promise. It's not really it's not necessarily a contract or anything. It has a lot to it, but it's been fought over for years, and people have been trying to work around it, but it's probably not going to happen given how Magic's set right now. But going into it, this basically is Flesh and Blood's reserve list, which is good, because this completely backs up the collector market and kind of like sets their like groundwork in terms of how they're going to be pushing out product. So going on, like, I pulled up a few tabs. Some of these are the cards that I personally have, but have noticed in terms of like price spikes. Like, before people started realizing that there's only a finite amount of these cards, and also that they're played in like formats like Commander. Like, that's what Grim Model is used for. Only Commander, nothing else. Maybe a few other decks, but only Commander for the most part. I mean, you go back 2013 when this site only goes back 2012. It was only $22. But as people started realizing it has a finite amount, you see it just continue, goes up, hits 120, 150, 140. In 2019, right before COVID happens. COVID was a big key contributor to this because people had a lot more money. And because of that lot more money, people decided, hey, I'm going to do this. And with that, you just see the price just continually go up. Now, it's not, I've already looked at the sales for a lot of it. It's not really, it's $420 for like a crisp near mint one. That's quite literally the collectors. Now, these cards are harder to get near mint because they are older. This is from, these cards are coming out years ago, decades, like about a decade back. So the market's sitting around 273. These are more like the moderately played and the LP ones being sold. But that's still a huge jump. I have this card. I bought this card recently this year because it kept jumping, and I'm like, well, I need to get one because I play Urza, so I kind of need something like this. And I paid about $200 on it, which I thought was a lot, but given the card at the time when I was buying was like $240, $250 because I bought an MP one. I'm like, it'd be pretty good. And now the MPs are sitting around like $280, almost $300. It just keep continually goes up. And you can look at other cards. Power Artifact. This is another card that I recently bought. I bought this for about like $170, $180 for a copy, and they were sitting around like $220. Now it's pushing $380. The MPs are pushing $270, $280 as well. It's insane. But it's also the fact that there's not a lot of these. Same thing with like this card, like Copy Artifact. Copy Artifact was a couple of bucks. It was under $10 for a while. I got one when it was only $8, and now it's in the hundreds. And plus it's also, a lot of players don't realize like these cards were cheap and they actually did a lot for the player in these formats. But now they're realizing, hey, there's not that many of these, and then people are just gonna start getting them. And, I have a few other ones here. Guy's Cradle is probably one of the biggest ones because now it's just barely sitting at $1,000. Makes sense. It's a land. It's a very good land in terms of green, and it's also from Urza Saga, which it's a set that I could talk about in another video. But we're talking about Flesh and Blood mainly right here. But continuing on cards like Wheel of Fortune, Badlands, all these cards were never. Brain Geyser was a couple of bucks, and now it's in the 80s. Brain Geyser I can see hitting probably over 100 by the end of summer, just because people are buying it, because it's like a stock. It's kind of like a stock. It's just there's no way it's going to go down because it's not going to be printed. And like now I'm touching back on kind of Flesh and Blood, which, oh, this is weird. Someone decided to buy out all these, the normal ones, which we don't really care about. Oop, I tapped out. We don't really care about that. But even the cold foil ones, I wouldn't say 420 is this card's set price, because if you look on eBay, you can probably find one of these for maybe like 380, 350. But like this Model I see this going up. It's an equipment. It's something that's used in a deck. And if someone wants a shiny version of it, they're like, hey, I'll shell out the money. But the cold foils, there's only a finite amount of it. Like the normal ones are only like $45, and then these are $400 almost. Going into the next thing, Breeze Riders, also a card that's used in ninjas. It's sitting around the same price. All these cards, like I'm saying, all this list has done, which is a good thing. I do believe this reprint policy is good, is assure players, hey, if you have these cards, congrats, they will not go down. This is your collection. It's going to be here. That rarity will not get reprinted, we promise. That's what they said with this, which is what people wanted. The only reason I only included crew cold foils is because for Arcane Rising and Welcome to Wraith, those are a little bit of like the Wild West in terms of how they're valuing, just because those first edition sets were printed so little that I think those are just going to continually go up to points in which it's just going to be the big player collectors holding on to them. So people like Alpha Investments, any of those players are going to be holding on to those first edition cold foils. Even if, per se, Flesh and Blood does fail. which I don't really see it failing in terms, because I see a really good player base who's ready to play. I see so many people who play online on Tabletop Simulator and other ways of doing it, and I also see people who play physical card game, like the physical card game, through webcam. Everyone's ready to play it. It's just a matter of when product will get here and when tournament play will start in, you know, the United States. But yeah, so that's basically a rundown of the cold foil reprint policy and what I think about it. If you have any questions, be sure to leave a comment below. Like and subscribe if you're feeling a little bit generous for that. Patreon is down in the description if you do want to support the channel in another way. I do actually have to do an update on the Patreon because I do have a few boxes coming in, which I will probably do some box breaks for. I've got 2 messages about people wanting to do box wars, so that could possibly be a video as well. But yeah, thanks guys for stopping by, and thank you for watching the video.